Hi there, my name is Jerry Vandenberg, and this is the story of Alberta's pit lakes. Mine pit lakes are formed at the end of the life of an open pit mine when the mining void is filled with water. Most open pit mining regions will end up with pit lakes at some point, and Alberta, Canada is no different, having been home to the coal mining industry for the past 150 years. I recently took a road trip with my friends Cherie McCullough and Devin Castendake. I enticed them with an offer to see a few pit lakes and subjected them to 2 days of non-stop country music as we cruised the back roads just south of where I grew up, searching around for pit lakes. Our first stop was Pleasure Island Pond, which is a former coal pit that is now used by the Camrose District Fish and Game Association as a trout pond. The pond is stocked annually with brown trout and rainbow trout. The site is also popular for bird watching and strolling around the 2,000-foot pathway that was constructed by the Fish and Game Association. On the day we were there, this guy was going after the trout. Our next stop was just north of there at Black Nugget Lake, which formed in a series of connected strip mine pits. Irony alert. Please keep the shorelines natural around this pit lake. But actually that's quite an accomplishment to re-establish a littoral zone on a pit lake that is deemed to be natural. This pit lake has a campground where people go for bird watching, canoeing, kayaking, hiking, and fishing. The lake is stocked annually with 25,000 rainbow trout and 8,000 tiger trout. I'm not sure if it's hunting grounds or a bird refuge, but the ducks seem to be pretty happy here. Just north of Black Nugget Lake is the coolest golf course on earth. The water hazards are pit lakes and the bunkers are filled with fine coal instead of sand. This area was mined and reclaimed by a family mining company that has operated in the area for over 6 decades. Thanks to the wonders of Google Earth, we can see what it looked like back when it was a coal mine, during reclamation, and after the golf course was developed. As far as mining legacies go, this family has done an incredible job of leaving behind beneficial uses for future generations. To do this course justice, I'm showing a photo from their website. It looks like this sign is constructed right on the bank of a former mine pit. From there we headed to East Pit Lake, which is a former strip mine located just north of the power plants at Wabamun Lake. The lake was recontoured in 1987 with replanting of the riparian zone in 1989. In 1990, TransAlta received both a reclamation certificate and a reclamation award for developing this lake. It's now a fishing hole maintained by the local Fish and Game Association, and as you can see it's used for various recreational activities. But sadly, no regattas. This is a popular fishing lake that is stocked with 11,000 rainbow trout each year. We got there in the evening just in time to see the fish rising. The miners left this 33 cubic yard dragline to show how the lake was originally dug. The next day we headed south of Hinton to a bunch of pit lakes located just 5 kilometers east of Jasper National Park. As the crow flies, or more likely the raven in this area, Miette Hot Springs is just 15 kilometers away, though you wouldn't know you're near a mining area if you visit the springs, which I highly recommend. There are about a dozen pit lakes undergoing various stages of development in this area. Our first stop was Sphinx Pit Lake, created by Teck. There was a paper on this pit lake by Brinker and colleagues, and a tour of it at the Mine Closure 2011 conference. This paper lists the chemical, physical, and biological properties of the lake, and I've linked to it in the notes for this video. The lake is connected to the natural ecosystem and provides habitat for native Athabascan rainbow trout and bull trout, which is a species of special concern. Though we didn't see any fish that day, we did see a lot of bighorn sheep finding refuge above the lake and along a nearby high wall. To do the lake justice, here's a photo of the lake that was taken in the summer from Teck's website. Next we headed south to the Coal Valley mine area. Due to the winter road conditions, we had to miss a few pit lakes along the way. Along this route there was an intersection with an active haul road, which was a bit unexpected. Once again, we can see a coal mine develop over time and then undergo reclamation with the creation of another dozen pit lakes. Although this was not the purpose of our trip, I couldn't help but notice the crazy amount of clearing in the region, especially in the late 90s. This time lapse starts 30 years ago, which coincidentally is just about the same year I started driving these back roads. It's fascinating to watch the individual cleared patches which regrow and then become surrounded by new patches like little puzzle pieces on the landscape. Of these dozen lakes, I'll focus on 4 of them that we visited that are documented in a couple of reports that I've linked to. One of these papers is by Curtis Brinker in the 1991 TRCR Symposium, 20 years before publishing the paper on Sphinx Lake that I mentioned earlier. The 1991 paper describes the lessons learned from developing Silkstone and Levitt lakes and set performance criteria for future pit lakes in the region. In 2005, Cold Valley Mine won a major reclamation award for Silkstone and Levitt pit lakes, and these are now popular fishing lakes. All 5 of these lakes are stocked annually with about 1,000 rainbow trout per lake and provide fishing opportunities for the public. Thanks to the typically inhospitable fall weather in the Rocky Mountain foothills, we could only get a distant view of Levitt Lake. We hiked in a ways and got a nice view of Silkstone Lake. We put our rental SUV to the test and headed for Sterling Pit Lake. Sterling Pit Lake was created 8 years after Silkstone and Levitt Lakes. Reclamation of Sterling Lake is complete and the landscape resembles the forest around Silkstone Lake but with younger trees. There were a number of unnamed lakes like this one undergoing reclamation. Right above this lake was a herd of elk, including this bull surrounded by his harem of 18 cows getting ready for the rut. Keep your head down, buddy. We came across this future pit lake not yet filled or reclaimed. Pit 45 is nearing the end of its reclamation and is open for fishing and hiking. Although not part of our tour, there are a few more pit lakes in Alberta that deserve mentioning. Further south, Quarry Lake, just up the hill from Canmore, is a scenic lake that was once a former coal mine pit. I used to take my kids there on day trips from Calgary when I lived there. As a measure of its success, the greatest threat to this pit lake is overuse by humans. What's truly remarkable is that this lake is only 6 kilometers from Banff National Park, which is full of some of the world's most stunning natural features, and people choose to come to Quarry Lake. This guy seems happy casting a line in the lake. So is this mallard. To learn more about the story of Quarry Lake, come to the SME conference in February 2019, where Devin and I will be hosting a session titled Walk Away Pit Lakes. And Devin will present the story of Quarry Lake as told by Jerry Stevenson, Chief Mining Engineer of Canmore Mines, who was instrumental in the planning and reclamation of Canmore Creek Mine Pit Lake in the 1970s into a sustainable, post-closure resource that today is highly valued by the local community and tourists. If you're in Calgary, check out Carburn Park, a former gravel quarry just off the Bow River. Since being mined for gravel in 1984, this park is now used for fishing, hiking, paddle boating, and skating in the winter. Or in Edmonton, where it's winter most of the time, check out Howralick Park. This 5-acre lake was once a gravel quarry and is now used for skating, cross-country skiing, picnics, and festivals. A few more former pits that are now used as fishing holes are Diplomat Trout Pond and at least 4 Boro pits. Basemine Lake, Alberta's first oil sands pit lake, is presently undergoing reclamation. Overall, there are at least 30 documented pit lakes in Alberta, and perhaps a dozen more historical and newly reclaimed ones. I've included the documented examples in a KML file in case anybody wants to pick up this tour where I left off. If you do, please send me some photos. I hope you enjoyed this virtual tour of Alberta's pit lakes. Thanks for watching.